DraftSociety.com presents a Premier League Draft Fantasy Podcast. Welcome to the Key Pass Collective. Your exclusive source for the information, analysis, and advice you need to dominate your fantasy leagues. Come on in. We've been expecting you.
Draft heads, welcome to the latest installment of the Key Pass Collective. This is Ryan Barnes. As you can tell, Joe Williams is out. He's down in Puerto Rico enjoying some mofongo with some Boricuas, I'd imagine. I'm not sure. But he's out. That does not mean that we give up on you guys, though. We are back with another KPC. We are, of course, the audio companion to the Draft Society website, which has ranks, stats, articles, everything you need to dominate your league. We also have the Inner Circle benefits, which have player projections, weekly rest of season rankings, fixture difficulty tracker, set piece takers tracker, personalized trade advice form, and of course the Ghost Point tracker and accompanying article by yours truly. All right, let's get into it. We have Totti, who is also an Iron Man like myself, will never take a day off. How are you, my friend?
Very good indeed. I've actually taken top spot in my home league.
Well done.
Albeit on fantasy points scored at this moment in time, but this is the first time I'm top this season, and I don't plan to relinquish that position until the end of the season.
Good. I don't expect you to either. You have to keep us posted on that. How many points do you have per chance?
As in fantasy points scored, or
yes.
Like head-to-head points?
Fantasy points scored. I'm interested to see how I'm doing.
3,010.
Okay. Not bad. I got 3,111, and I am somehow in second place. But
well, we have
those are the
have
breaks.
A guy who is 3,178, and he's in fifth.
Oof.
A good 4 games behind.
Oh God. Yeah, I've been there. Throw yourself off a bridge.
Them's the draw.
The breaks. Those are the breaks, as they say. Yep. All right. Well, we're all coming out of double game week madness, elation, or hell, depending on how the game week went. But we have a pretty good action-packed show for you today. We're going to delve into some findings and some conclusions that we took from this game week 29 that was so fascinating. We'll also give you some targets coming out of this game week. We'll do a few last straws, and we will also do some streamers at the end per usual. So let's get into it. Coming out of the double game week, how are we feeling about KDB? He was getting a lot of grief, as you can remember, prior to this game week. I think you and I were the few of the proud, the KDB truthers. I've been banging the drum that he's a big game player and that he would carve up Liverpool 32.5 points later. I'd say we're looking pretty good coming out of that. What say you about KDB coming out of this week?
I was checking the notes, and I was like, this is one we're not gonna fight on. We both had him pretty high, and I think, as you said, he nailed. He's one of those big game players, for sure. But again, like this, maybe am I being too reactionary in saying
you want to trade high, don't you?
To trade high,
use SOP. Exactly. I knew it.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Give us your case.
do you blame me? He still has the same, like, the one thing we have seen is that he's played an awesome game against a very, very, very bad Liverpool, which was always going to be the case. At this point in time, Liverpool is a pretty easy matchup.
Other than this weekend, of course.
Yeah, obviously. But the concerns about him getting a lot of minutes in Champions League, the concerns about when Haaland is back and the fluidity of the attack is suffering. Those are still there, and Haaland is going to play whenever he's healthy. So like, I still think he's comfortably top 10 and the mid part of that top 10 rest of the season. But if you can construct a trade looking at opponents, doubles, blanks, stuff like that, then I'm not opposed to trading him out on a high.
Who would you take for him in a 1-on-1?
1-1.
Yeah.
Probably only Trippier.
You wouldn't take someone like Saka?
Yeah, Saka would be close. Would be close. Like,
said he still have two doubles. I'd like to point out. Of course, they blank in 32, but they have double in 34 and likely a double again in 37, I believe.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. At this point, at the end of the season, looking at your matchups and looking and planning ahead does help. Like, if you can see that you're stacked on doubles, and your opponent is likely going to fold or pick up like middling double game week defenders who'll bring him -1 point in 180 minutes, then your perceived value of KDB having two doubles will be lower than for someone who has an edge of the knife double game week ahead. So it all comes down to meticulous planning.
Sure.
On this.
Always.
For me, like I can see, I traded out Haaland before this game week. Haaland and Chilwell, basically. Haaland, Chilwell, Jensen, and McGinn for McAllister and Odegaard.
Ooh.
And Evan Ferguson, sorry. But since I didn't start Evan Ferguson from the bench after he wasn't even in the squad at the weekend, so I'm losing the value of that initial double for Ferguson.
Sure.
So essentially, it's McAllister and Odegaard for that lot. And that was just based on me planning ahead and having a look at, like, I knew I needed a starter for the blank, and I got Odegaard in, and that helps my case there. And I knew that I was facing KDB, Mahrez, and Grealish in the City double in Gameweek 34, so one single Haaland there is not gonna get me out of trouble.
Sure.
So I might as well kind of forfeit. Obviously, I'm gonna do my best to go for a win in that Game Week 34, but I'm not gonna overspend on trying to win that, as that seems like an uphill struggle from the distance. But that way I strengthened for the blank before that. So yeah, there are certain constructs that you can put together that will see you trading out KDB, 1-1, Trippier, Saka, even March and Mitoma. I would give a big hard think on.
Mm.
But yeah, any combination of across the board help, and looking at doubles and nail down players in exchange for KDB, I could go for a trade there.
Yeah, I mean, I could see the rationality behind trading KDB in a high, but at the same time, I mean, that 32.5 kind of whets your appetite. Plus, there is, of course, Champions League and FA Cup coming up, but he was fairly well rested the last like month or so. I'm assuming in anticipation of this business end of the season. Um, what would give me pause is if, and I hope this happens in real life, but if somehow they start dropping points and then the title seems to be pretty elusive, and so they go after balls to the wall, the Champions League and FA Cup, and then in which case KDB might drop to the bench in the Prem. But I don't see that happening, so I think he's going to start the majority of the games, and yeah, I think we'll crack on. So I'm not going to be actively looking to deal him out after this. I think he's at least got another banger in the mix potentially versus Southampton this weekend. But yeah, I would see if anyone will give you any of those players that you flagged for him. So
yeah,
but
for sure.
Way, good news.
I think in like if you have his value comes from you being able to play him when he starts, essentially. And if you have like a stacked midfield or decent City cover for him, like you have, I know you have Gundogan. I have Jack Grealish stacked next to him. I'd be okay keeping him on, because obviously he offers the highest points per start value ever.
Yeah.
So if you can manage those pesky non-starts, then you should get the most value out of him.
Yeah, I mean, I've been kind of contemplating this as a KDB roster, but if you're going to deal him, you almost have to deal him with that mini City stack or cover. So like if I was going to deal KDB, it would only make sense for me to deal KDB with Gundo, not only to make the offer sweeter, but Gundo by himself is fairly worthless. So yeah, if I was going to deal KDB, I'd probably deal him in tandem, but yeah, that's just an aside. Okay, well, beaten KDB horses to death. So we talked a little bit about Liverpool being a very easy matchup. In that vein, Klopp shuffled the deck quite a bit versus Chelsea midweek after the City debacle. Do you think this was just the one-off to, one, either rest his players, or two, kind of show them that they're not indispensable? They can be benched. What do you kind of feel, especially as a Liverpool fan, coming out of this rotation?
I'm like, I watched that game and it was horrendous.
I was watching the Brighton Bournemouth game, so I missed basically the whole thing.
Yeah, there was no. I didn't see any of what Klopp said was positive. Like I guess. Yeah, man, there was two disallowed goals and a bunch of chances for Chelsea. Like if it was any other team, we would have lost 4-0.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think anyone came out of that game with an A star or with a point proven. Maybe maybe the guys who actually stayed in the team actually put up a good showing. Like I liked what Konate did in the game. He was decent. And also Jota looks to have that spring in his step again that was missing when he first came back from that long injury. So I can see him getting some more minutes. Gakpo obviously didn't start the second, and was very disappointing. Still, that stat rings in my ear that Salah, Darwin, even Jota were players Liverpool targeted due to their understanding of their value and how they can develop them into better players. Whereas Gakpo was signed on the basis of a great World Cup and the buzz around his stature in the Eredivisie. So he's not the signing that we expected him to be, or not the signing that was promised, so to say.
So you're disappointed with him in general, as of now?
Well, not him personally. Like I think he will be fine in the long run, but it's just a strange signing to go after. Um,
It's like the one area where you're pretty well stacked.
it's the one area where we were well stacked. He's another guy who can cut in from the left. Who we have Jota and Darwin for that as well.
Diaz.
And Diaz as well. So yeah, it's a strange situation that and and he hasn't been forced or hasn't been tried much through the middle. So it's not a case of yeah we know you played this way, but we can see that you can play this other way as well. Let's try that. So there are bigger issues around Liverpool. I wouldn't expect. I'm not attributing much to that rotation. Like there will be some rotation up front once Diaz is up and running, but no one impressed enough to worry me regarding any of the regular starters. And by worry me means worry me more than I'm
already normally
regularly
worried. Yeah.
worried about Liverpool assets anyway.
So you think it's back to regularly scheduled programming versus Arsenal on Sunday?
Yeah.
Maybe the same lineup as versus City. Ironically, after that.
Yeah, Elliot is not going to start obviously, but because I think
Maybe
they'll have
Thiago's back.
I think it's going to be Fabinho, Henderson, and maybe Curtis Jones.
Jesus, I hope
Not
so.
that he played that well, but they need some solidity in the midfield, and they don't get that with Harvey Elliott. And I also think he's out injured, or he had a knock or something in the midweek. So there's not many other options really in that midfield until Klopp tries the 4-2-3-1 again, which again is a bit of a issue I have with him this season. Like a lot of our personnel, and especially with Thiago out, lends itself to the 4-2-3-1, and still we haven't played it at all. Like I think we had 2 or 3 games playing 4-2-3-1, and he hasn't gone back to it.
I can't remember. Was it to good effect? And you get good results from it?
Oh, no, not like revelation-y good results, but I honestly I don't remember either. It's not something that I needed to like. Oh damn! This 4-2-3-1 really made the team click or something like that. But I remember that I was happy that they played it, and then they didn't play it again.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, given the results, you'd think that he'd be open to trying anything, especially in that game versus Chelsea when you already shuffled the deck to prove a point. You might as well try something different, see if it does a job. But okay, well, I was just curious about that Liverpool rotation. I mean, as a Trent rosterer, getting a -0.5 the Martial treatment over 2 legs is not a fun experience.
Yeah, I'm honestly really worried about Trent and Robo as premium assets rest of the season.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have Robertson in a league, and I honestly don't know what to do with him. Like, I don't think he holds much trade value at this point.
I mean,
So
got another DGW coming, right? I mean, maybe in anticipation of that, he gets a little more value. Just trying to look at the schedule here. Yeah, 34. You got Tottenham and Fulham at home. That's not a bad DGW.
yeah, and
Also got Forest during the blank, Leeds. Yeah, I mean, there's
Leeds,
a
Forest,
good stretch there. After Arsenal, it really opens up a bit.
Yeah, but is that a stretch you want to hold them for, or is that a stretch you want to use as bait to send them out for?
Yeah, of course. I mean,
like that's the real question, because all those teams.
But
yeah.
Well, yeah, I'll be interested to see how they crack on. But
as a Trent roster, I'm gonna throw you a curveball there.
All right,
would you accept Pervis Estupinian for Trent 1-1 right now?
Brighton doesn't really keep it solid at the back either.
He scored 7 with 3 goals conceded.
Yeah, because I think he had an assist that game, right?
Well, he does luck into a few assists.
Yeah,
as well.
I'm just saying, like he's had some Trent-like days when they don't keep a clean sheet. I would be very tempted, but having looked at that schedule, I'm a little bit more reinvigorated. Probably with false hope, but that would be very close. I would be tempted for sure.
Yeah, agreed. That's why I plopped him in, because obviously they have that one blank, but they have 3 doubles.
Yeah.
To go,
and he's become fairly nailed on. So,
and he's nailed on exactly. He's started and played 90 or close to 90 in all but one of the games since the 22nd of October.
The good thing about Trent, though, is given the name recognition, all you need is one decent performance, and you can trade pretty high based off of that. So I would see if I could get a performance out of him in the next couple, maybe Forest at home, and then you could really trade high off of him. But yeah, I don't know if I needed a result, maybe this weekend or the next couple, I'd be very tempted. So
yeah.
Alrighty, moving on from Liverpool. Something that I always try and think about going into DGWs is defenses that I really don't trust. And the chats all in the run up to this DGW, I was like, man, I don't trust Leicester defense, and I don't trust West Ham's defense. And so I don't want middling defenders from either of these teams. I mean, some of the West Ham defenders got bailed out, like Zuma and I think Aguerd, by
and Kehrer as well.
Random attacking returns. But otherwise, I mean, they've been shit. You listed some of the defenders that people were clamoring for that did horribly. Kehrer, Aguerd, like I said, they got attacking returns. But yeah, Feist, Hickey, Rico Henry, Suter. My God, that was a bloodbath.
Ailing, and for me personally, a big disappointment is Nico Williams. Like I was on top of the world, getting my Nottingham Forest league.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're the one.
Yeah. Aurier is out. Nico is starting, likely on for the double, a decent double at that.
Yeah, on paper.
And he got absolutely nothing. Literally nothing.
Yeah, they have to be Ghost Point gods to consider for the double. Felipe still did fairly well, even though he dropped off a bit in the second game. But
he was top heavy.
Yeah, but I mean, given the fact that they got they got handed twice, and he still came out with, I think, like 18. He's one of the exceptions on a shit defense that you're going to trust. But yeah, otherwise, something to keep in mind next DGW season. Don't kill yourself to try and get these middling defenders. Another thing that I was thinking about, especially since we have one of these wagers in mind, some of the January transfers that we were pretty high on back in January, some of them have shown themselves to be frauds. I was hoping we could go through a couple of these guys, and we should probably tell the listeners whether or not we're giving up on them. Although we do have some last straws later, but some of the folks I had in mind, your boy Tete, nowhere to be found. Trent special, what was it, negative 0.5 in a DGW?
Yeah, he played 45 minutes.
Yeah, man, he's droppable, I would assume. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I got him off waivers for the double as well, so
yeah,
he was droppable before the double.
Yeah. Veghorst finally lost his spot today. Hasn't really done much otherwise. Although he hasn't been horrible. He's like 6-7 a game, give or take. Just weird ghost points.
Something like that.
Obviously, he hasn't scored a goal yet, but
yeah, I think I haven't put him in the last straw section, but I think he's prime last straw. Like,
and they're blanking 32 too, right?
Yeah, and they're playing Everton, and it's the first game of the game week at the weekend. So
if he doesn't start that,
yeah, if he doesn't start that, then the last straw has been pulled.
Gotta like those aerials with Tarks, though.
Yeah, exactly. If he does, I'd start him.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't drop him right now on waivers, but I'd definitely drop him if he doesn't start.
Yeah. Man, I'm looking at a couple of these other ones. I mean, the one that really hurt me was one Onuachu.
Onuachu and Sulemana.
Yeah, I mean, they have everything possible going for them to just hoover up ghost points, and they've just been so disappointing. So those two hurt me on a personal level. And then the raft of Chelsea ones. There hasn't been a big, other than Porro and Doses, Felix and Doses, Gakpo and Doses.
Felix, I think Moreno has been quietly very, very good, and one of the key factors in the Renaissance under Emery. And we have to say it. I think Enzo Fernandez has exceeded the fantasy projections that we had him nailed on for. Like, he's been scoring well, and obviously he's been starting since he came in. So that 133rd rank that we had him on after the January transfer window had closed, it was a bit pessimistic.
Yeah,
regarding his scoring.
Sure. Yeah, we all thought that he would just be that prototypical CDM that would get 6 to 7, but yeah, he's shown himself to have a little bit more in his game, and I think he was played in more of like a number 10 role with Conte coming in versus Liverpool.
There were some weird midfield rotations, like against in the final 20 minutes against Aston Villa and against Liverpool at certain points as well. Conte was almost inside the D in front of the 16-yard box, and he was almost like a handball player, pinging around passes around the setup defense or something like that. It was very weird.
Yeah.
But that netted him 9.5 against Liverpool and an assist on a goal that wasn't given. So Conte as well as Enzo were in in patches of the game very advanced. So it's worth keeping an eye on for.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And then, of course, beloved Hamid Traore, who has disappointed us for the first time this season, coming out of that double with 5 single solitary points. But I haven't given up hope on him yet. He's got a chance to crack on at Leicester this weekend. Inshallah, he does just that. So I'm not giving up on my boy yet.
Yeah, there are some weird ones here, like how disappointed are you with Mateus Cunha?
I think we were in agreement there. I don't have any hope at all for any Wolves 9 whatsoever until proven otherwise. So I don't even think I picked him up in any of my leagues. If you know, you know there. So I wasn't disappointed. It went about as well as I thought it would. So yeah, no disappointment there.
Disappointed in a more personal sense that Scarps didn't end up panning out.
Hardly knew ye. Wow, man, I totally forgot about that guy. We just kind of liked his skateboarding, but now that
I'm sure he hacky sacks a lot as well.
Yeah, him and Nagelsmann are probably spending a lot of time together now. Cruising.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, we spent enough time on the January window, but yeah, man, not too many gyms coming out of that. So there you go. It's always a crapshoot. Just a couple other topics want to tackle coming out of this past game week. So yeah, we talked ad nauseum about the Arsenal front three. Turns out we were both proven right for a week. Both Trossard and Jesus come in with Saka getting a much needed rest, but I still like my position coming out of that. I mean, Jesus brace,
Jesus
32 spot. My God,
did the business. Yeah, for sure.
Trossard had a very well worked assist to Jesus for a second, but I still think going into Liverpool that the front three will be Martinelli, Jesus, and Saka, and Trossard will be coming in from the bench, even though a lot of people have been talking about the fact that he scored a hat trick with Brighton last time he was at Anfield. But I mean, all the more reason to have him as a super sub if you need him. But I mean, I think speed kills Liverpool, so you've got to go with those three, I would think.
And it's the last game of the game week as well.
Yeah.
So I would be much more comfortable trusting a Jesus start than a Trossard start. I'm
going to be doing just that going into that last game because I'm too much upside to try and legislate for that.
I think I'll cuff Robertson with Trossard.
Yeah,
and then hope either of them starts. If both start, I'm starting Trossard.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, I'm okay starting Robertson. I hope it's not a bloodbath. But at this point, most likely it will be.
Dude, I don't know how many wins on the trot at Anfield would need to happen for me to not be scared shitless going into that fixture. But I mean, suffice it to say, I'm very, very nervous about it. But I hope you're right.
I understand, but at this point in time, I think I have, based on this season, I have much more reason to be nervous.
I mean, he gave us a game at the Emirates in the first fixture, so I mean, tactically, I think Klopp knows a bit about how to play against Arteta, but I'm hoping Mikel's got something for him. We'll see. Okay, so obviously there were some managerial comings and goings. Uncle Roy back in at Palace. I like Eze coming out of that managerial shift. Was benched by Vieira, but he's back fit and firing under Roy if the last couple games are any indication. So buying low on him was the time to do that was right after the managerial change. But yeah, I don't know if you can right now. But he's somebody I would love to have on the roster. And then with Frank, it looks like coming into Chelsea, and who knows what's going on at Leicester. Any thoughts on? Oh, and of course, how could I forget Conte leaving his dream project at Spurs unfulfilled? Shocker. Um, how do you feel about any of these changes, fantasy wise?
Yeah, I think I touted Jordan Ayew in the waivers article as Palace look to kick on in the easiest schedule that man can conceive coming up for Palace until the end of the season, and with Zaha, I've seen some headlines saying that he fears that he's played his last game for the club and stuff like that. So there's possibly a very long injury there for Zaha. So there needs to be someone stepping up to lead the line, not in a number 9 sense, but in a leader of men sense. And surprisingly, I expect that to be Jordan Ayew. Like he's the senior of the squad. He's the one that doesn't get the 60-minute sub treatment like Odson Edouard and Mateta. But I also like obviously I also like Olise and Eze to feature a lot during this run. I think they'll be fine.
It seems like, and I haven't checked Elise scores, so keep me honest here. It seems like the reemergence of Eze has eaten into Elise's points a little bit. I mean, there's early doors, but does that seem to be the case at least thus far?
Yeah, we had that last time around when they were pairing and they played together, didn't we? I mean, Olise had a decent 3 key pass, 11.5 against Leicester, so I wouldn't be that worried. 4 against Arsenal in a 4-1 loss. That's on par with what would be expected. So I wouldn't necessarily condemn him to be like a fantasy cuff for Eze. So I wouldn't be worried if I saw both of them starting, but yeah, definitely one to keep an eye on.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, with Frank coming back to Chelsea, gotta go back and dig into the archives and remember who exactly outside of Tammy Abraham balled out under Frank. Obviously, the big one that sticks out is Mason Mount, who's been in purgatory for quite a while now. But anybody else outside of Lampard's son Mace stick out?
I've honestly got no idea. The only question, and I wanted to discuss this very briefly because we talk a lot of Chelsea and Spurs on this pod.
Yes, we do.
Is that I think the Chelsea fullbacks and possibly Havertz are the only guys, maybe with Enzo as well, the only guys who I would consider holding when not starting.
They played
the
a back 4 under Lampard, right?
I think so, yeah, and
but like an attacking one.
That's where my question is going, is that Chelsea have the absolute worst schedule for defenders rest of the season.
Ooh.
And both Chilwell and Reece James had a decent double game week, starting for both of them, and decent scores as well. with a famously attacking-minded coach coming in with two attacking-minded fullbacks. Is this a situation of trying to sell high, or is it something that makes you hopeful for the rest of the season?
Man, I mean, Frank's never been known to keep it solid at the back.
Yeah, I don't expect many clean sheets.
No, especially if you say that they have a bad schedule. Oh Jesus, yeah, I'm just looking at it. They blank in 32, Brighton away, bloodbath. Wolves, yeah. I would think about selling high for sure. On any of those defensive assets. Depends. If I couldn't get value for him, though, I would be okay holding because, given their ghosts and the fact that at least they'll be attacking under Lampard. Yeah, you would just have to go into those fixtures just hoping that they can ghost and nick some attacking returns to offset the lack of clean sheets. So, yeah, I would try and trade high, but would be okay if I wasn't able to do that deal. So,
yeah,
okay, cool.
Same here. And as for Leicester and Spurs, honestly, Leicester possibly looked worse, if that's possible, without Rodgers than they looked with him. And Spurs, although had some momentum early on, but then petered out to an nth degree, and yeah, I don't expect, like, at this point. I think fourth might be a bridge too far.
Might be Newcastle's to lose if this continues.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be better to have like a clean slate, like not even in Europe? Like, it's not going to be like,
they'd have to do a lot to fall out of the top 6. You would, or 7 with the Conference League. So you have to get 8th these days to be out of Europe.
Conference League is not in Europe essentially. Like it.
Yeah, but you still have to play the games.
Yeah, you still. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, if you need a trophy, it's not the worst thing in the world, to be honest.
Yeah, maybe that's the play.
Yeah.
Suck for Conference League.
Yeah. That final.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't. I think there is, like, I don't want to start Spurs bashing, and would rather speculate on what's happening there, because like they were the first to get rid of Conte in this mini run of manager sacking, and I think Moyes will be following on before we publish this this podcast, and I think the board there thought, yeah, we'll coast to the end of the season and then get one of the big boys. Maybe Ancelotti leaves Real Madrid. Maybe we can have a run at Nagelsmann, whatever. And then everyone else sacked their manager, and they I'm sure that they're like, what the fuck are we gonna do? Like,
yeah, we can't compete with some.
All the managers are gonna be gone by the end of the season, and we'll be stuck with Stellini.
And without Champions League, it's a worse prospect for any incoming manager, you would think.
Yeah, and this season we are seeing the absolute ruthlessness of the Premier League. Like, at this point, De Zerbi is the 10th longest serving manager in the league, and he came in September.
Yeah, I mean, some clubs have sacked 2 managers this season already. It's insane.
exactly, and I do fully expect there still to be at least one in Moyes, but possibly two with Forest hovering above the relegation zone as well, because
Man.
like I know the owner came out saying that all the sacking rumors are bullshit, but at the end of the day, they signed 30 players and they must be on huge wages and they just
Yeah.
can't afford to get relegated. Like that will
Sure, but
bankrupt the club.
they also re-upped on Cooper when they were in their previous spiral, and so I'm sure he has a hefty payout or buyout.
Yeah.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
9 games to
Like
go,
yeah, I mean at the end of the day, it's all gonna come down
I
to
think they're going to go
whether
down with the ship. I
yeah.
think at Forest, I think they'll stick with him.
Yeah. Yeah. But still that's gonna be even if Forest doesn't, but West Ham go for sacking Moyes. It's going to be 13 sackings in the season.
Man,
That's crazy.
that's wild. Yeah, and we're still nowhere close to figuring out who the hell's going to get relegated. It's still
Exactly.
completely
Like
up in the air.
everyone below maybe Chelsea is still there. Chelsea still only has 39 points,
I'd say
which
everybody
is
below
not.
Wolves, but yeah, that's fair. Okay. Well, I think we've talked a bit about post game week 29 musings. Let's shift to last straw. With Joe out, I don't know how to intersperse this dialogue with the jingle, but I'm just going to assume that
I'll do the
you could do it a
music.
cappella if you want.
I'll do the acapella, the music, and then you can do the last row.
All right, I'm done. I mean, I'm down. Go ahead.
We'll do that in post.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah,
do
yeah.
that in
Yeah, we'll
post.
lay that track after this. All right, got a few last straws to go through because, as we talked about, I think last week, and we always talk about, now more than ever is the time to be ruthless. You don't have enough game weeks in the world left to be to play favorites and to hold on to somebody if they're not performing now. Sayonara. So, in that spirit, let's go through a few last straw candidates, starting with. I always want to say that he's Kyle, but it's Kiernan Dewsbury Hall.
Kyle.
Yeah.
It's the Mainsley. It's the Mainsley
Yes.
problem.
It's the Neil Pinnock syndrome, but better known as KDH. I got him a couple weeks ago, and frankly, I've been pleasantly surprised. He's been at or near double digits the past few weeks. I thought, awesome. Going into the DGW, he's nailed on, always gets 8. He's going to give me a nice 15, 16 spot at least coming out of this DGW. First game was fine. I think he got 8.5. And then, of course, he gets 2 yellows and the red card in the second one, which keeps him out for the next game. And then the game he would come back to in game week 31 is Man City. So effectively keeping him out of the next 2 game weeks. I have already dropped him. What say you?
I'm a big fan.
You are.
He was my last season's much less explosive Mitoma.
Oh God! Don't even put them in the same sentence. But go on.
Yeah. He came through last season, and I had him a bit earlier than the Buzz.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, it's the schedule after that though. Like Wolves at Leeds, Everton at Fulham, Liverpool, so tasty. But yeah, I mean, if you
But can you
if
afford
you
to hold him
can't
for 2 weeks?
if you can't, like it's one of those situations where I'm not dropping him at waivers, but if you can't put out an 11, then I'm not thinking twice about dropping him.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. Yeah. I dropped him like a bad habit. Don't have time for that tomfoolery.
He comes back for the blank, though, and they don't blank. So that's
but that blank isn't
value.
as scary as the last one. It's only 4 teams: City, United, Brighton, and Chelsea.
Yeah, but a lot of those are rostered. Like if you have a City stack or a Brighton stack or something like that, then that blank will hurt.
And you can't drop them because they have 2 doubles after that. So
exactly.
I get it, but yeah, okay. Well,
yeah, I understand dropping him. I'll drop him if I can't.
If you have to,
out an 11. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Wilfred Zaha. This is one where I'm basically giving it maybe another week before we get some more definitive answers regarding the injury, and either I'm going to keep him based off of that or I'm going to drop him.
Yeah, it has to be. It has to be based on some actual info, like trustable, Ben Dinnery worthy info.
Yeah,
because as we mentioned, that schedule is a peach, and if he's back, he's starting and he's playing all the minutes. So unless there is an indication that he's out for, what should we say, 5+ games?
Ooh, 3 or 4+ would make me think, but yeah, at least half.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, yeah, we'll table that one. I put in Mason Mount here because I'm sure last straw was weeks ago for most people, but for those of us Mount truthers who have held on to him through a combination of, as I said in the group chat, apathy, spite, just downright laziness. Today is our Independence Day because Mount is reunited and it feels so good with
his
daddy, Super Frank. So this is kind of a reverse last straw. This is first straw, I'll say. The chance for renewal with Mount. To be frank, I didn't mean to use that pun, but I don't have that high hopes for Mount even reunited with Lampard. I would be very happy to trade on a relative high.
That's what I was gonna say. If someone's more excited than they should be, then just sell him quickly.
Yeah, I would take whatever you want to give me, but
exactly.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, well, speaking of shit defensive DGWers, your boy Suter, the mountain of a man from down under. I never bought into him. I was willing to be persuaded, but he has yet to persuade me. I've seen a lot of highlights of him missing sitters. Are you done with him?
I can't justify dropping him before the home game against Bournemouth. I just can't.
Yeah.
Like I understand why. But that 13 ghost point performance against away at Brentford, or 15 ghost points rather, with 13 with a goal conceded, that just haunts me. That coupled with a clean sheet possibly against Bournemouth, that would net you close to 20.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. I guess this is last chance saloon this weekend, though. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely last chance. If he again puts up a sub 5, then I'm not even. They have City after that, so that's definitely a non-start. But if he puts up a sub 5, I'm dropping him, and I'm not looking to pick him up against Wolves or Leeds.
Okay. All right. Moving on. Wow, did you put this in here? Twist the knife. Felipe.
No. It was just I think we talked about that, both of those guys in the chat, that it's the last straw, isn't it? Like they had been amazing, but they now both Felipe and Traore Hamed, I mean, have shown their non-ghosty side. So would one more non-ghosting game make you abandon them?
I don't think so. As I said, I watched that Bournemouth Brighton game, and Hamid definitely passed the eye test. He was a little off, but he had all the sets. He was getting himself into great positions. He missed a sitter, which I'm sure he's still being haunted with in his dreams. That was such a gilt-edged chance. But yeah, I think he still has everything going for him. Like I said, all the sets, everything goes through him. He was just coming back from illness, so he wasn't as sharp. But I would be surprised if he doesn't get back to his ghosting ways this weekend at Leicester. So it would make me think, but if he puts up 3 against Leicester this weekend, I don't think I'm automatically dropping him. I think he's got enough credit in the bank, at least with me, to earn another chance. But and then
Definitely one more chance for both.
I mean, Felipe can still do no wrong in my book.
Yeah, exactly. He had 3.25, which on its face value is bad, but with 2 goals conceded and a yellow,
yeah. So
that's essentially close to 10 ghosts.
Yeah, and that's quite the aberration in his CV. That's his lowest score, and yeah, like you said, yellow and 2 goals conceded. So if your lowest performance is 9-ish ghosts, then yeah, I'm sticking with you, brother. So yeah. Felipe and Hamed, you're safe with me.
Yeah, I agree. Okay.
Adelaide Doucouré.
What about Doucouré?
Yeah, of course, got the red.
Sent off, so he's definitely missing the next game.
Was it? Remind me. Was it the second yellow or was it It was a straight red, right?
It was a straight red.
Yeah, so he'll miss the next 3. Yeah, he's gone for me. He's not worth it. So
okay, agreed.
Bailey's interesting. Leon Bailey. Where to begin? Oh, God. Yeah, he's one of those guys that has certainly, over the course of the season, warranted being dropped. But, man, Villa's flying. A decent schedule.
They have early games as well. So Forest is 4:00, and then Newcastle after that is is the early game on Saturday, and then Saturday 3 p.m. game the week after. So essentially you can hold if he doesn't start, drop. But would you be willing to drop him on waivers, or do you want to keep him until lineups?
Only because it's Forest at home. I would keep him until lineups. If he doesn't start versus Forest, I would be fine dropping him because, man, he's without an attacking return. He's just trash. Yeah, even during the double. I mean, Jesus Christ. Yeah, very, very droppable. So, yeah.
Agreed.
If I didn't have better options, I would be okay starting him versus Forest. But if not,
okay. Yeah, agreed. And I put in a guy from left field, and obviously he's probably FA in most leagues, but I put in Richarlison just because I think like Spurs need to make a change up front. There's something is not working there. It's either Kulusevski or Son missing out, but I can see if healthy, I can see run of games for Richarlison. Would you hold him to hopefully stick with him for that, or just pick him up if he starts?
Do you know what the prognosis is on the injury?
Yeah, it should be short term, so he should be in contention for the weekend.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'd hold. Yeah, I think I'd hold for a couple weeks if you can. Like the others, if you can still field an 11, then I think he's probably worth holding because they're going to pull out all the stops the rest of the season. So I'm sure once he's back healthy, he's going to get his opportunity. I thought one of the few bright spots coming out of that Everton game, I thought Kulusevski looked pretty dangerous. I think he got fantasy-wise, like 6.5, something like that.
Yeah, sounds decent enough.
So I wouldn't mind, and we talked about it last time, trying to get him on a low. But yeah, if I had Richarlison, I think you have so much sunk costs that unless he's keeping you from fielding a full 11, I think you hold for now.
Yeah, agreed. And hope that they can do something decent.
Yeah. Okie doke. All right. Well, that finishes Last Straw. We will start laying down that accompanying track shortly. But before then, we will finish it with some streamers. You want to kick that off?
Yeah. There are two games that are primed for streamers this week, and essentially, I want to have a look at those games. It's Palace versus Leeds and Fulham against West Ham. Both games are pretty close. Like you can see either of those teams winning them. So I'd be okay looking at those players, whoever starts, and because there will be rotation as well. So obviously Sinistera had a huge game in the double, a huge point haul. So if he's available, I'd go for him, and he looked good as well in real life too. So hopefully that Somerville is a good one there as well. Jordan Ayew, I don't actually mind whoever's starting between Eduard and Mateta up front, although take it with a pinch of salt because they're not getting more than 60 minutes. As for Fulham, Vinicius starting up front is a decent proposition against very, very bad West Ham. And also Aston Villa defenders, man.
What I say about Mingsy?
Mingsy came through.
Went all the way to Puerto Rico just so he wouldn't have to feel the shame of his Mingsy detraction.
Mingsy did the business, and they're facing Nottingham Forest.
I will say I was a little disappointed with our boy, I guess at this point, Moreno, in the second leg.
Against Leicester.
Yeah, didn't really do much, but I'm hoping that he does the biz versus Forest at home. So we shall see.
And I have to renege on my Jacob Ramsey. It wasn't hate, but fear rather. He did the business as well,
Yeah.
and he was really good. So
He
yeah.
been passing the eye test. Yeah, as I said, Villa are for real.
They are. They sure are.
Yeah, they're
with the injection of the former Arsenal blood there. They have become even more of your team.
Yeah, I know. Unai.
Former Valencia as well.
Yeah.
So it's all coming up, Ryan.
It is. It really is. Now, if Wolves can just get back into 13th, it'll be all right. All right. Well, my streamers, and this is an ode to our fallen hero, Genie. Michael Keane, I think, has done enough to warrant a stream or two. That Worldy versus Spurs was something else, but he's been ghosting decently. Everton have been okay at the back, so if you're in a pinch, I think Keane might be your man. Joachim Anderson, who we haven't talked about, rightly so, for several months, he's one of those guys that has looked decent again under Uncle Roy. Just bagged a dozen ghosts this past game week, so he's not someone I'm immediately trying to field in my lineup, but I'm definitely monitoring him for those ghosts. So we'll see, especially with that schedule. Marcus Tavernier, whenever he gets a start, he's usually pretty electric. They have Leicester away this weekend, so if he's on your wire, he's a decent pickup. I can't believe I'm saying this because I've sworn him off, but Ricky P, his goal in the first leg and his cameo, I think warrants a stream. Again, Bournemouth at home. That's going to be an interesting game. And then, I gotta shout out Pedro Neto. Possibly could do a job. Possibly.
Yeah.
So
that's the confidence. Real Neto fan.
That's right.
Sounds like.
That's right. So that's your lot. I see that you want to possibly discuss a trade deadline.
Yeah, I just want to. It's coming up to the time when we usually discuss having a trade deadline on the pod, and I just wanted to start the ball rolling, start the conversation going. Whether this time around, do you think the trade deadline is a good idea? Leeds should help one, or
I think.
What do you think?
I think Joe and I can't remember if you were here or not. Discuss the possibility of it. It was one of the listener questions, but I came around to I think Gameweek 32 implementing a trade deadline. If you have playoffs, it's a few weeks before then. If you don't, then I think 32 is a good cutoff because that's usually when things crystallize a bit. If you're out of it, you're pretty much out of it, and you might give up hope and be fine dealing away your studs to your friend who's going for the title. Just shenanigans like that, I think, start to pop up more and more around that time. So I'd be fine instituting a trade deadline, I think, around game week 32.
Yeah, I agree. I think primarily I'd rather work out a way where all the teams are motivated to play through and play all 38 game weeks, but if that's not possible, then a trade deadline helps keep the balance of the league intact.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yep. In agreement again.
Wow.
What a boring pod.
Yeah, seriously.
Joe is the catalyst.
Yeah, I think he's dividing us.
He is dividing us, isn't he?
Yeah. True host.
Yeah,
just in it for the entertainment.
The Podfather.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
All right. Any sign off for the listeners?
Adios.
Adios, muchachos. Yeah, I guess that's fitting given where Joe is. But yes, thank you guys for listening. I'm sure Joe will be back and better than ever after getting some R&R down in PR. So without further ado, we will be signing off. This is Ryan Barnes along with Totti. Thank you so much for listening and good luck in your game week. Adios.
Adios.